I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got one gig. I suck up dirt, so pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too, and an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding? I can't even do corners. Uh-oh, choking hazard.
Popcorn kernels.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
This is the Dan Levatar Show with the Stugotz podcast.
All right, I'm a little torn here, Stugotz. I need your help, okay? I've written down 4 notes here, 4 notes to myself on things that I wanted to talk about today, and I want to put them in front of you, but I've written these notes on the side of what is our show sheet. This is what Roy prepares, and everything Roy has put on the first page of this show sheet is emblematic of where we are as a country in the media right now. So this is what I want to ask you. Would you prefer right now to talk about a raging argument that I'm having in private with Stan Van Gundy?
Right.
Would you like to talk about Trae Young, who seems to be the first child of the Steph Curry era that we are now seeing in this transformed basketball that has reached college basketball? Would you like to talk about yesterday's kayaking story that we never got to because there was some sort of food poisoning involved, and we need to get to that story? Or would you like to talk about your observation from Monday that Michael Thomas of the Saints, there is no way that he is bad at sex?
Wow, those are great questions. I want to start, 4. I'm interested in all 4 of them. We will get to all 4 of them at some point today.
But I'm really torn, and the show sheet is making it distracting. Look at the show sheet.
Right.
Before we get to any of those 4 stories.
Okay.
This show sheet is filled with just Hollywood things that have spilled over into society that is at the height of my argument with Stan Van Gundy about changing news media and his issues with LeVar Ball. But comic book legend Stan Lee has been accused of groping and harassing the nurses who care for him at his home in Los Angeles. The nursing company is currently in a legal dispute with the 95-year-old. 95! He's got young nurses coming to his home. He's 95. And he's like, you people and your newfangled sexual harassment rules, I don't care about him. I'm a comic book legend, 95. I'm going to grope nurses.
Got maybe 5 years
What
left.
are you going to do? Tie me up in litigation? I'm 95. Send more nurses. Like that. So that's what you're dealing with up there.
Right.
Then the next thing. Well, that's Danica Patrick's new relationship with Aaron Rodgers. It's revving up fast, according to the New York Post. We'll get to that in a second. James Franco, he's on here, sexual misconduct. Michelle Williams reportedly earned about 1% of Mark Wahlberg's salary during reshoots for All the Money in the World. Everybody.
Seems fair.
No, but Wahlberg, Boston Wahlberg gets $1.5 million. Everyone else is getting $80 a day. What are you saying, Guillermo? What are you saying?
They should have all held that company hostage like he did. He said, I'm not coming back to do reshoots.
That's right. Look at this. There's more. It's just more than 100 women signed an open letter Tuesday arguing against the hashtag #MeToo movement. And then Michael Douglas is trying to get ahead of a possible story accusing him of lewd behavior. That's the whole first sheet. It's just everybody in Hollywood is groping. So anyway. And the Stan Lee one is amazing because I keep saying, man, at some point, are we going to give a wide berth to somebody in their 90s? You know, when we're talking about George Bush in a wheelchair, I honestly say this because I think it's the only place where, man, what is going on in this country in 2018 is making it so hard to talk about some of these things honestly, and it's really hard to laugh at them, which is why I'm marveling at what Dave Chappelle is doing right now on Netflix, because it is hard to do what he's doing. He's going through social commentator, comedian, journalist, essayist. Like, what he is doing is very difficult. The degree of difficulty is very hard on it. So I'm trying to find the places where we can have some fun some fun understanding that all of this is very serious subject matter, and we all agree on the areas where people should be castigated for bad behavior. It's not about starting arguments there. It's about wondering whether 95-year-old Stan Lee cares whether anyone's going to accuse him of groping or being a sexual harasser.
I took your advice, and I caught that Dave Chappelle, the most recent Netflix special. Look, there have been better stand-up specials, but in terms of difficulty and just the craft, that's one of the better ones I've ever seen. That whole routine where he writes a joke backwards is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen.
Mike, I want to see what Louis C.K., if Louis C.K. isn't in jail, if Louis C.K. comes out on the other side of this,
how he handles it.
I would like to see how his creativity and cleverness attacks the demons, because Chappelle, you can make the argument that there has been no one in entertainment, like real Hollywood entertainment, who's had as interesting a path as Dave Chappelle. And the idea that he can see everything that happened with him and where he fled and where he felt he was being used by white people to Bojangle, where he felt that pressure, and then goes to South Africa, goes and just like nukes everything that white people wanted to do with his black comedy, and then comes back on the other side to tell the story with his creativity. Woo, I'm here for wherever that ends up. And Louis C.K. is going to have the same thing stimulated if he can get out from under like how much all this hurts, because good God, the public shame of all of this would be something that I can't imagine handling.
I want the private feud you're having with Stan Van Gundy, since you asked me. Yeah, I'm interested in that.
There were two fascinating Stan stories there, and I'm with Stugotz. We're leaning SVG.
There are two fascinating Stan stories there?
Yeah, the Stan Lee and Stan Van Gundy, and we're going Van Gundy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going Van
you guys
Gundy.
are going Van Gundy over Stan Lee? You think me?
Well, Stan Lee wasn't an option, I don't think, of the four that you gave me.
Right.
Okay,
No,
you brought up
But that's
Stan
what
Lee.
I'm saying. You see what's happening on the show sheet. We have one
Yes.
hell of a canvas today to work with. I mean, we got kayaking, food poisoning. We got Trey Young. We got LeVar and Stan and me feuding. I've never had this kind. Oh, first of all, if you don't know, Stan Van Gundy is a friend of our show. Stan Van Gundy, for how many years, Mike, was he on weekly with us? He was the Miami Heat's coach. I love him dearly. He is a misery, but I consider him a legitimate friend. He's one of your friends. Do you have any of these? Like, I got two of them, and him and Kornheiser. Like, they're just miseries around what they're doing, but they love doing it, and I don't really understand it, but those are the two guys that are like that.
I got Roy.
Wasn't that long ago when we were doing shows with Stan in 2012.
But for how long? Did we do it for 2 years, 3 years?
We did it sort of in between jobs.
Okay. And so many of the people who love this show know Stan was having fun here. You could hear Stan was having fun here.
Yes.
But there was something about the misery that calls back Gruden, calls back all these guys. Gruden really surprised me, not for any other reason than usually the guys who get out, stay out if they've won a championship. And Gruden won a championship and is going back, and that one surprises me.
It's probably the $100 million.
$100 million, man.
Yeah. It's probably it.
Okay,
yeah.
and for Stan it was $35 million. But what price tag? What price tag on that? Because for Stan, it was $35 million, whatever, all the power in the organization. And he'll make the Pistons so good, but they'll never win anything because no champion star is going to choose Detroit. So he did it for $35 million. But how much happier was Stan when he was doing this with us? How much happier did he sound to you?
Well, he sounded happier. He sounded well rested. But, $35 million. I'd give up all of that for $35 million.
Well, he is deeply unhealthy right now, physically deeply unhealthy, because that job and its anxieties are a torture.
Right.
They're a torture. So you're not going to just be the coach, you're going to be the president as well. And he'd be a torture in any one of these jobs. He was a torture as an assistant coach. Like, he's just built like that. But I want to get into this argument with him that I'm having. And I just started it. And you guys know, I got a computer at home and a phone. So I had to leave in the middle of the argument to come here and do this. So I don't know. He's still arguing with my computer back home, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's so confusing for people on the receiving end.
Yeah.
That I got to get those devices connected.
Sync them up. I'm just going to start texting
I'm an
both.
old person.
I'm going to
I'm
start
an old
texting
person.
both. We got to start texting
guys,
both at the
you
same
guys
time.
got to keep me young.
Wait, because sometimes I get a text from your email address, and you're telling me if I text it back, unless you're at your computer, you're not getting
That's
it?
right.
Oh,
is that your computer or your iPad?
It's my iPad, and it's at home.
I got a call from his email once, and I'm like, "Are you? Is this on purpose? You calling me from your
I can do
email?
that though. I
What's
can do
happening?
that. Look,
FaceTime audio?
Look, you guys need to keep me young on all of this stuff. as I argue with Stan Van Gundy. But I'll get to this story next. I don't even know if he wants to keep this private or not, but now it's too late.
There have been times where I've needed to reach Dan urgently, and it all depends on whether or not he's on his iPad or his phone. I don't know where the hell he is.
I never need to be reached by anybody urgently. Just never.
What about your family?
You would say that.
I'm just saying, don't have any urgent things, and we'll never have this problem.
It's quite the life you've carved out for yourself, my friend. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. Tune in tonight as Russell Westbrook and the Thunder visit Jimmy Butler and the Timberwolves. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Here's your SportsCenter update. Dan, going to need your help with a name here. Bills GM Brandon Beam believes there is a misunderstanding of what Richie Incognito said that led Jaguars defensive end Yannick. Do you remember this one? I mean, there's no way.
Yeah, we did this on television the other day, and yeah.
I just call him Yannick.
Ngaku.
Ngaku.
But you know what's funny about that is all of us yesterday in sports, throughout the sports media, we were all trying to fake like we knew that kid from Alabama's name. Did you see that? That happened.
Yes.
The quarterback from Alabama. Everybody in the media was scrambling to try and fake that they knew how to pronounce the kid's name. I don't feel like I've ever seen that happen in sports before, where a name pops up so literally from one day to the next that the people on television are having trouble pronouncing it.
Oh, you mean Tua Tagovailoa?
You want to try it again?
No, that was the intention. Wait, we're going to track down this audio of Stephen A. Smith.
Trying to pronounce it?
No,
but I mean, nobody. Have you ever seen that happen before?
I give him credit for going for it, man. I do. For trying to
I know
pronounce
you were
it,
pronouncing. Yes. You were just saying Tua.
Yes.
You did it.
Tua Tungo, and then it all falls apart.
But when was the last time that happened?
Where a guy burst on the scene with an odd name?
It might have been Antetokounmpo. It might have been Antetokounmpo. Where a guy, but from one day to the next, where you have to the sports media has to figure out, hey, holy bleep, how do we pronounce the guy we're all talking about today? How do we pronounce his name?
Jeremy Lin. Serge Ibaka and second-degree black belt James Johnson. Wow, I missed this last night. Wow. They were ejected after trading punches in the Heat's 90-89 road win in Toronto.
James Johnson was throwing the punches. Serge Ibaka was throwing his hands up in the air.
Got two-pieced.
Dan Le Batard.
Is there anyone, Serge, who refers to you by your full name?
No, I don't think so.
Can you tell the audience what your full name is?
Ibaka, Ngubila, Serge, and Jonas.
Stugotz.
Isn't your full name 10 words? Serjabulo, Lamu, Sayong?
No, that's not true. That's not my name.
Okay. I'm sorry I made that so awkward for you. Hell of a day we're finishing.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
This has been true throughout history. Young people decide what is popular. Young people make it happen. You do not need Malcolm Gladwell or a modern intellectual to understand that what young people like ends up being the thing, and then young people become old people, and those old people rail against the new young people. What is happening right now with the Ball family in sports, this reckless urination that you see all over sports that's getting me into a fight with my friend Stan Van Gundy, is young people want something with LeVar Ball that old people who run the media and sports and coaching are not comfortable with. So even Steve Kerr all these people who are very liberal, Kerr and Stan Van Gundy, who are very comfortable yelling at the President of the United States from their platforms,
right,
aren't so comfortable with LeVar Ball yelling at them from his platform. So the Balls, in their weird, cartoonish, anarchist way, are creating chaos. And Stugotz just told me something fascinating that happened with his daughters at school yesterday. And I'm telling you, young people will make things popular. Kyrie Irving broke away from LeBron James because LeBron James is the old thing and Kyrie Irving wants to be the new thing. And look at what's happening with the Balls at the lowest level of this.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. So my daughter gets home from school yesterday, Rachel, and she's very into sports. She plays lacrosse, but she enjoys sports. She likes to watch sports. She said, Daddy, all the boys in my school, all of them, they found a private place in the school to watch a game on one of the kids' phones. And I'm like, what do you mean? What kind of game? She said, a basketball game. And I said, I need more information. Like, I'm thinking to myself, there's a basketball game being played in the middle of the day. And then she tried to pronounce Lithuania. She couldn't. And I said, oh, the Lithuanian basketball team. The Ball brothers.
She is her daughter. She is her father's daughter.
Yes.
It runs in the family.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Get some mispronunciation so we can celebrate Stugotz's fatherhood, and understanding that his daughter would mispronounce something like Lithuania is not surprising.
But she told me all the boys in her school gathered around one kid's phone, and they're all watching the Ball brothers play. And she asked them, "What are you guys watching?" And they explained to her, "We're watching, the Ball family." And she's like, "Well, who are they?" And the kids started to explain to them who they were. These kids had to watch the game. They're huge fans. And one of the kids said to my daughter, "The dad is the absolute best. You have to learn. Go ask your dad about this family. Tell him to tell you about the family. You have to pay more attention to this family. They're entertaining, and they're great basketball players." Kids love LeVar Ball's family.
Man, you could see this throughout sports, right? Jalen Ramsey announced it on behalf of his up-and-coming Jags this year. Like, he stood at his locker and he's like, the Seahawks are not the Kings anymore. We're coming for the king. We don't look at them as kings. We are a peer. Jalen Ramsey told you straight out of FSU, Jags are coming. Seattle's done. Young coming to grab old. And LeVar Ball is nipping at the heels of Luke Walton, of Stan Van Gundy, of coaching, of Rick Carlisle, of the coaching fraternity, and they're bringing young people with them, and it will make the old people uncomfortable because who the hell wants the Kardashians running this country?
Right.
They're just the Kardashians in sports. That's what the Balls are doing. They're trafficking in how to lure our dumb, young, impressionable people that make the Kardashians our royal family and make a reality TV star our actual president. And the Balls are going to be like the modern-day Addams family. They're going to be Sunday morning cartoons, these rebel anarchists with this father who's a loon.
It's amazing because I texted my nephew to make sure that it was happening elsewhere. It was weird. I did like investigative journalism once my daughter told me this. I texted him saying, "Hey, did you watch the Balls play a basketball game today?" He said, "Yeah, me and all my friends," because he's in high school. He's in 11th grade. He said, "Me and all my friends were watching it on an iPad."
Man, the Kardashians didn't have talent to become the Kardashians. It wasn't about talent.
The young people didn't make the reality star president. Maybe they did by not voting, but that was the only inaccuracy there.
No, you know what I mean. We've got a reality star president, and we were just discussing in the first hour the idea of Oprah as president of the United States because it makes sense all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, our country's obsession with celebrity. I get that. LeVar negotiated triple B's on the court. He's got an advertisement on the court. The referees were wearing Big Baller brand jerseys.
Guys, look, he's doing everything wrong. Like, he is.
But he's doing it right.
But he's doing it right. Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, he's also doing it in Lithuania.
I know.
Yeah, but he's got kids leaving their classroom to watch a game on their phone.
Too hot for America. Too hot for him. This whole ball thing is too hot for America, and kids love it.
Demand once more money.
You're cutting class for
It's just empty nonsense. We want to. I mean, you know what? This will end. You think our education system is bad now? Wait till you see what happens when everyone's doing what LeVar Ball is. I'm pulling my kids out of school because LeVar Ball is president of the United States.
I'm explaining LeVar Ball to my daughter last night, and then I played back an interview that he did with us, and then I just showed Rachel some videos, and she goes, "Oh, I like that guy. He's fun."
Yeah. That's right. America's a bunch of 12-year-olds.
Dan Le Batard.
He is now eating it out of my hand like a grazing animal of some sort. Oh, he is showing love. Oh, eat the picture. Yes.
Swallow?
No, he's not going to swallow that.
Stugotz.
What just happened there?
I finished.
You just threw out a slobbered piece of my face on the floor.
That was just a slobbered piece.
Back in.
I got a weak stomach, man.
Tear me off half of that, Stu. I want to get involved.
Oh, no.
There's no way
think
you're
I'm
do
kidding.
It. The fact that you're holding it.
I think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. If he eats that piece of
I already ate the piece of paper.
If he eats it, I will vomit.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Here's your SportsCenter update. NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN. Thunder at Timberwolves and Clippers at Warriors. Serge Ibaka And second-degree black belt James Johnson were ejected after trading punches in the Heat's 90-89 road win in Toronto. That's road win. And finally, Thailand's prime minister set up a cardboard cutout of himself at a press conference and told reporters they could direct their questions to the cardboard. Then he walked out. I love that man. No, like that man. I love him.
Stan Van Gundy's threatening to do that. Stan Van Gundy is threatening to do that to ESPN, send out a cardboard cutout to the sideline interview. He should do that. Stan, let's see if you got any anarchists in you.
Funny.
You should do that. Someone in the Pistons PR department needs to do that for Stan and then test the limits of these partnerships that we have with basketball where we have to pay to have the sideline interview that's useless.
For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Think about that. What Stan is threatening to take away from ESPN is this stupid access that we pay for where we mic up a coach or we go and talk to him, after the first quarter. What do you think of your team's energy? And then he says, blah, 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 nothing.
How do you get back in this game? Put the ball in the net.
That's right. Aggressive.
I mean, what will we do without that kind of access?
Well, but this is what we're dealing with here. All right. So this is the source of my argument with Stan Van Gundy that I am having on a computer at home that I don't know what the state of it is right now. Because this is how the conversation began with Stan Van Gundy. And if you're just joining us, the coaches fraternity of the NBA feels blasphemed against because cartoon gasbag LeVar Ball, he of the F rating from the Better Business Bureau for Big Baller brand that sends you sneakers 7 months late and the wrong ones that weren't the ones you ordered.
And if you send a complaint to customer service will get back to you and call you a small baller.
I love that so much.
It's the best.
It's the best thing to happen in 2018 anywhere in the world. That if you call LeVar Ball with a complaint about his Big Baller brand, he will dismiss your complaint by calling you a small baller.
You just got to eat it.
So, Stan Van Gundy, you complain all you want about ESPN's coverage of LeVar Ball. You're a small baller. So, this crazy, wacky family that everyone's annoyed with, and it's tired, and it's everyone except young people, by the way.
Yes, young people love the ball
Young
family,
people are
yes.
just getting to the balls, and they're amazed by Lithuanian baskets on their phone. We all get tired of LeVar Ball quickly, right? This is something that spreads across cultures and generations, right? Gamma, put this on the poll. Is it a universal truth that all cultures and generations will eventually grow tired of LeVar Ball? Because it's happened to all of us, right? It happened to that Cuomo guy on CNN where he discovered LeVar Ball. LeVar Ball was wacky.
Right.
He's discovered it was delightful television. They had him on for 20 minutes of gibberish and nonsense.
Right.
And then he used the media for his gains. We're all sitting around wondering, why is this dad on CNN doing anything? But he makes good television in the dumb television age that crowns the Kardashians.
Yep. And then you stop using them. You stop bringing them back. Or he stops using you. You just don't know it.
So it's getting to the kids now. And the kids will decide whether it's popular or not.
The kids love the kids, man. I'm telling you.
Yes.
They love those two younger kids.
Well,
man.
because they're all anarchists. They're kids. Dad, man, that's the dream, Stugotz. Think about how that looks to kids. Think about how it looks to kids. Wait a minute. Dad fights with the coaches and pulled us out of school to play basketball in another country.
Yes. Well, and here's the other thing. So my daughter was asking me, why do they play in Lithuania? Why not the NBA? I said, they're not old enough yet. And she said, why not college? I said, college doesn't pay them. This place does. And their dad sent them to this place so they can get paid. And she's like, why would you choose not to get paid?
I know. This is the thing. Look at how this looks from the viewpoint of kids.
She's so me.
Yeah, she is you, dude. Look at what you've birthed and raised in the lab.
Proud of her.
Let's play for the audience when CNN discovered LeVar Ball.
You know what song he's singing?
What song?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That is not a real song.
That's what song he's singing.
That is not a song.
They were talking about Donald Trump. Again, I want you to see the symbolism in all of this, okay? I want you to, yes, because once it washes over you, it's uproariously funny. So the starting point is we've got a guy who is famous for you're fired in the White House, okay? That's the starting point. and CNN needs to cover him, and someone in sports has said something outlandish about the president of the United States. I am not thankful that the president took my kids out of China for shoplifting. I will not thank him. The president demands a thank you. Let's bring on LeVar into this journalism setting on CNN, and let's grill him about why he's attacking the power in this country.
Are they? You know what song he's singing?
What song?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That is not a real song.
So there it is. So that is both the point where CNN became enamored of LeVar Ball and disgusted by him all at once, which is where we all are.
And now Chris Cuomo has a primetime show.
That's right. Well, yes, you can ride him into the stars.
Exactly. You just listen to LeVar Ball sing, just that, and that's all you know about him, and you wonder, wow, this guy, that's the guy that has all these coaches upset.
That's coaches, that's all sports, everybody. This person is coming and rattling the cages of all of sports.
Thank you.
Yeah, with a ridiculous song that he's singing on CNN. But while you may be tired of all of this, I'm having a legitimate argument with my friend who's the president of the Pistons and the coach of the Pistons.
You might be tired of LeVar Ball and his family, but this discussion, this argument you're having with Stan is interesting.
Well, but here's the thing. So Stan is saying to me, here's the backstory. Rick Carlisle is coming out and just torching LeVar Ball and ESPN because we cover LeVar Ball too much. Steve Kerr agrees with him. Stan Van Gundy, this is an older generation. It's an older generation. They're sitting here in unison, these stuffy starch coaches, telling ESPN how we should not only pay them for their time in these useless sideline interviews.
Right.
We should not only pay them, but they should be able to control when we talk to LeVar Ball. They're thinking they should be able to control it. And so the argument I'm having, I sent Stan a text. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And the response is, there's nothing to talk about.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's what I'm saying. But he wants to take ESPN's access to the coaches if we're going to cover it that way. And I don't want to betray what he said next, okay? I'm just telling you that we are having an argument where Stan Van Gundy really thinks that he should be able to control whether or not I talk to LeVar Ball or not. My friend Stan Van Gundy thinks he should be able to control that. My friend Stan Van Gundy was very comfortable with the platform that allows him to attack the president of the United States. When a lot of people would say, hey, don't talk to Stan about that. Who cares what Stan has to say about that?
Right.
But when LeVar Ball does it to you and your blessed Rich Carlisle, then it's not okay.
Well, it was to Luke Walton. They're all defending Luke Walton.
No, but that's odd.
It's a great point you just made.
And so I want to talk to him about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know, because he might be arguing right now with my computer at home. And I may have just betrayed him because I don't know how much of this. What is he? Is he boycotting the media? Is he boycotting ESPN?
I think he's threatening to boycott ESPN. I'll check the story right now.
I'd love, guys, can you call Stan and ask him whether he wants to talk to me about this on air and explain to him what's going on with my computer at home?
ESPN has a national broadcast on the 19th, and I guess that's where the threats are coming in.
All right, well, see if Stan wants to come on and talk about this at any point in the next 2 hours.
You think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know where he is with it. I don't know, but I think there's a good conversation.
I think when he says there's nothing to talk about,
he likes stimulating conversation.
Sure.
My response to him there was, Stan, come on, there's always something to talk about. Come on, don't do that. Maybe he wants to have it on air. Let's see if we can make it happen.
Don Le Batard.
Bill Belichick has told his players that despite the blizzard that's expected in the New England area, the Patriots will hold its final practices during its playoff bye week. No excuses for being late. Moron.
Stugotz.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry. No excuses for being late. I'm sorry.
If he needs it, you got to give it to him. He's helping Bill.
He is displaying behavior, that of a moron. That's all I'm saying. Save it. We're good. You kick, save, and abuse.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
I'm usually very confident in what it is that we do around here and how we do it, and probably our confidence is greater than it's ever been right now. But I'm not confident about something today, and it's that I feel like for 3 days now we have been neglecting the topic that our show should be talking about, which is the idea that you're watching an NFL game on Sunday and a receiver is doing things that make you say to yourself, there is no way that that person is not good at sex. We have spent 2.5 days since you made that comment.
Yes.
Not talking about that comment, and I just believe that it's a leadership breach on my part that is offensive and should be punished by the company. Because how often have you felt watching a game at any point the thought, and I bet that person is good at sex too?
I can't recall another time.
LeBron.
I don't think I ever thought that with LeBron.
I'm not saying it happened for you. I was making an admission myself there.
All right, there you go.
I didn't think it happened with you. I thought to myself, see, Gabby Union and Dwayne Wade are basically telling you they're having good sex all over Snapchat. They're doing it all over Snapchat. They're telling everyone they are a new they're new generation famous, but let me see how I say this. They were the young thing, and now they're the older thing, but they are trying to connect with the young thing.
Right.
And so on Snapchat, they are unusually revealing for celebrities. Unusually. And they're showing you maybe not their sex life, but something around it. I mean, hell, Mike, during the holidays, wasn't Gabby Union trending for something revealed in a book about their sex life with Dwayne Wade?
Yeah, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see what's happening in the back room there.
Yeah, that was a whole nother story.
Mike, have you ever thought while watching a game there's no way that person is not good at sex?
Well, we just had a debate back here. I think Russell Westbrook's good at sex. Guillermo doesn't.
Well, it depends on what kind of sex you like.
Exactly.
I feel it says a lot about a person if they think Russell Westbrook's good at sex.
I think Michael Thomas is good at any kind of sex. I'm with Dan that Russell Westbrook is good at a specific kind of sex. I thought about it. You know what? I remember watching Cam Newton and thinking the same thing. Great at sex. All kinds of it.
I just like to get ahead of this. I'm not saying he's bad at sex. I'm saying he's not great at it. He's good.
Who?
Russell Westbrook.
All right.
I don't want him to think that I'm saying he's out here bad at it. I'm not saying that.
No, I understand. I know. This is not the part of this that I want to explore. I don't want to get to an actual scientific right or wrong about whether or not someone who looks like they're good at sex is actually good at sex. What I am asking you guys is if you've ever had the thought that Stugotz and I have had while watching the grace and poetry of someone playing a sport that is aesthetically pleasing and athletic, and people are attracted to athletic figures in ways that are magnetic and sexual. If you've ever thought to yourself what Stugotz did during a Saints game, that receiver, Michael Thomas, not only is good at catching footballs, but is also someone who is clearly good at sex. My question to you is, have you guys ever had that thought? Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, in some form or fashion.
Blake Griffin.
Because you're a ginger, and you imagine yourself in the most fantasized state to look and be Blake Griffin. Yes, that is you, because you look like Blake Griffin if Blake Griffin wasn't somebody who was terribly out of shape. That is the cartoon. Blake Griffin is absolutely the cartoon superhero representation of you. That is Chris Cody. Chris Cody has not fallen far from the tree. I'm worried about our friend Greg Cody. He was a disaster during the megacast on Monday night. Mike, can you check in with Greg, please, on how healthy he is or isn't? Because it seemed like he was drunk.
People on the text machine are predictably pointing out that we look like we'd be awful at it.
Yes. Well, yes, that's not surprising.
And they're also saying that Mike Ryan, of everyone on the show, looks like he'd be the best.
He'd be, yeah.
It looks like I'm disappointing a lot of people in that respect.
Yes, but no, well, wait a minute. That's not exactly a ringing tribute of you, Mike, to be the most sexual of these particular creatures. Good
look around,
God, look around.
Kidding me? Roy looks like he'd kill it.
Yeah. All right, so let's call our sick friend Greg Cody. Baby.
Dominique. Good.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But he's a professional athlete.
Yeah,
Does anyone realize what's happening here?
Yes, I do. I realize, and somebody, at any point, feel free to come up with a white person. Feel free, at any point.
You keep spitballing some, but they keep telling me no.
Well, yeah, feel free to do it at any point. If anybody, while we're calling Greg Cody to see how he's feeling, if anybody wants to lob a white person out there so it doesn't become quite what it's been conversationally. But Stugotz, you also thought Cody was drunk on on the megacast, right? Or you thought his behavior was weird?
Yeah, and I'll go Gronk, by the way. Gronk's
no, he's a meathead.
How about Kelsey?
He doesn't care about pleasing anyone but
How about Aaron Rodgers?
No, I mean, maybe Kelsey. Kelsey might be a good one. Kelsey might be a good one.
I was thinking Julian Edelman.
Yeah,
Edelman.
All right, so Greg Cody.
I didn't know if Greg was, I didn't think he was drunk. I knew he had a cold.
I'm worried about him. I'm worried about
Yeah.
him. So just go ahead. How you doing, Greg? Like, seriously, the listeners, they're also worried about you because you appeared out of sorts on Monday.
Yeah, I think I was, actually. I was...
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody on ESPN Radio.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.